To the podium, the man we all call the Dean of Faculty of the University of Lagos. Please, let's be upstanding and give him the usual Ikeja applause. I'm also proud to say it's my friend and my brother. Yes, we are brother for life. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is Professor Abiola Sanni, SAN. Please, let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you very much, Alaska. That's what we call him. If you don't know him, I know him. But let me say, with all sincerity, that type of citation has tax implication. So don't put me in trouble. The chairman, sir, members of the ESCO, past chairmen and chairladies, our senior at the bar. Let me use Learned Brother Silk Akimboro to at least to pay courtesy to all senior advocates here present, quite a number of them. My colleagues from IFE, and also my colleagues from University of Lagos. Than everyone whose path has crossed with mine over the years. I give all of you your due regards. I really like to recognize you one by one, but 40 minutes is a lot of time, but it's just not enough. So with your kind permission, can I start the conversation? All right, thank you very much. The first thing I would like to say is that things are changing. Nothing is the same anymore, especially these days of technology. And when you see changes in our tax law, you should ask yourself, what is the logic behind exempting 90% of taxpayers and then focusing on only 10? If you have apprehension about the new tax system, you belong to the 10%. Because, good news, small businesses almost on tax holiday. Then you ask, how are you now going to get the money? Institutions are being built or rebuilt. Governance issues are being newly created. Tax institutions have been empowered in order to do things differently by leveraging technology. So the landscape is changing, but not everything has changed. So I'm happy and I'm honored to be invited to lead this conversation among colleagues. And once again, Alaska, thank you for this invitation. I appreciate it. The topic is the evolving role of legal practitioners in the new tax ecosystem, from personal compliance to client advisory. Okay, I'm happy that it is on the screen. Can you please go to the next one? So this is the overview of my presentation. After the introduction, I'll give you a snapshot of what we used to have and then what we have now. Then I'll look at sources of tax law, because I believe that what smart lawyers need is just where to find the law. So once you lay your hands on the law, the rest is simple. Then if you have difficulty, you can always call. I can't remember any matter that I've taken to court without calling at least 2 people that I respect, because I don't want to go there and embarrass myself. Okay? So after that, I'm going to look at the portrait of a lawyer. What do we do? It is Osaro who said, waiting lawyer, they do self. Efere Osako of blessed memory, he said, waiting will they do self. Whatever we do, has tax implication. How? So I'm going to look at the personal compliance. How do you get it right yourself? Because you can't give what you don't have. Then, how do you now advise clients? What are the key advisory issues under the tax law? Then I'll talk briefly about tax planning. A lot of law firms are thinking of migrating to either an LLP or even register a company. But is it allowed under the legal practitioner professional rules? Then I'll conclude. The next slide, please. This next slide, yes. We need to signpost the fact that the new legal order has not discarded the old entirely. The first slide after the introduction. So the new tax legal order has not totally discarded the old. There are so many things we are hearing now that people think, oh, it's a new creation. Oh, it's a product of the reformers. No. Some of these are part of the major building blocks of the tax system. They have always been there. Some as old as Nigeria. But the issue is they have not been enforced. And people really didn't have any sense of the provisions being enforced anytime soon. But it appears, because of the build-up, people believe that very soon the sword of the Damocles might come. Is that not so? So you now see tension. You see apprehension, especially in the midst of all the things in the social media, most of which are correct, but many of which are totally false or fabricated. And at the end of the day, you ask yourself, if a new tax order is seeking to give exemption to almost 90% of taxpayers, and also remove all the bottlenecks, and also create new incentives, why should people worry? So who are the people behind some of these things we are seeing in the press? At the end of the day, your guess is as good as mine. So that is why it is important for us as lawyers to go by what we have in the books. So since law is normative, there are certain behaviors of taxpayers, including lawyers, that must change. If you approach the new order the way you have approached it in the past, you are going to lose money. If you have never filed returns in your life, and you are not going to file return under this new regime, you will lose money. Nobody is going to penalize you for it, but the money you could have kept and spent, you pay it to the tax authority. So I will start by looking at the wrong perception or old habits of taxpayers generally, not just lawyers. The first one is the idea that lack of accountability of government is a legal defense. It is not. If they put you in the dock, God forbid, for non-payment of tax, you can't say, what are they doing with the money? We are not seeing anything. That is not a legal defense. If you get angry, you know what we should do? Let's mobilize and put the right people there. Then, carrying on business with no reliable record or no record. I'm talking to somebody here. You have been in practice for 20 years, 10 years, even 1 year. It's not conceivable. I don't know any country where it is conceivable. The non-filing of tax return, I spoke about that. Non-claiming expenses. Especially those who are in practice. You have expenses. If you buy fuel, if you travel, if you eat, maybe you entertain guests, you repair your office. The tax law has put provisions in place to make sure that you take all these things off before you arrive at chargeable income, which is what the tax rate will apply. Business people, they spoil themselves a little. That's why we have business class. If you are doing business as a lawyer and you have never flown business class, then you need to do MBA 101. If you put off your generator all the time, or unless when you are in the office, you don't know how to run business and take your expenses. As a matter of fact, a lot of us should change where our offices are located, because all these are tax deductible, including when you take loan to build a house. All this in the law. Then non-cognizance of timeline for filing. People don't know. They have no idea. The non-claiming of withholding tax credit. Each time you work for corporations or clients in the formal sector, they deduct your money. But you don't have a sense of paying tax. Not realizing that by the time you aggregate all those deductions, depending on the volume, it could even be more than your tax obligations. So these are some of the things. Then the idea that TCC covers all tax sins. Then seeking or procuring TCC in emergency situation. It is when you need it for sonship. It is when you need it to buy forex that a lot of us now go and get them. And I want to believe that if you listen attentively, these are some of the old habits that we should try to change. Now, what is the overview of the old order? The overview of the old order, you know, in Nigeria we have 2 levels or 3 levels of government, depending on how you see it. But let's use 3 levels. We have federal taxes, state taxes, and local government taxes. The focus here will be on federal taxes. We used to have about 9 tax statutes. 9. One on personal income, another on companies' income, another on petroleum profit tax, also income. Then we now have special taxes that are layers of taxation on companies. The police also tried it. They said security is the most important. Let's have police tax. We already have in education. So different sectors are now seeking to have earmarked taxes to finance their agencies, because government has turned them to revenue centers. Then we have Naseni levy, NIDA levy, TED fund levy, and we have capital gain tax, value added tax, stamp duties, and all that. I call it, or I typify it as the era of one tax, one legislation. Yes, because once there is a new tax, everything will be warehoused in a legislation. That is where you see everything relating to the provisions. But there are some federal taxes, 3 of them, that are administered by states. What are they? Personal income tax, capital gain tax, and stamp duties. But the state administered them relating to residents within their states. While federal government, the new Nigerian Revenue Service administers them with regards to those who are carrying on business as corporations, or those who are resident outside, non-resident in any state, but tax resident out of the country. Then we have local government. Let's just focus on property tax or land use charge. But now, all the federal taxes have been put into 2 statutes. Nigerian Tax Act and Nigerian Tax Administration Act. Nigerian Tax Act and the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. These two, this and that. The Nigerian Tax Act is the one that imposes 5 taxes that we have now under this new law. We have only 5 taxes. We have only 5. Then all the administrative provisions are now warehoused in the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. In the past, we used to have administration provision in each tax law. So you have a situation where the obligation to do something will overlap, and then you have overlapping provisions, and people cherry pick. The new reform said payment of tax is the same thing, irrespective of on what. Let's treat it the same way. Let's be neutral in the approach. So everything was now put together in the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. Then we have 2 statutes that are really non-taxing statutes, in the sense that they merely establish either the Nigerian Revenue Service or reconstitute the Joint Tax Board and rename it, reconstitute the tax appeal in order to make it more vibrant, and also establish tax ombuds. So purely from theoretical perspective, I will not call the 2 statutes tax statutes. Let's go to the next slide, please. So you must note that all these reforms, they relate to only federal taxes. I did a presentation on Tuesday in Unilag where I interrogated the relevance of this federal reform for development of the local and state taxes. And my recommendation was that states should also think and do something about state and local government taxes, because that is where we have all the headaches about non-state actors stopping you until you wind down your glasses and they see that you are a lawyer. They will not let you go until you put MBA sticker. They are going to stop you. There is nowhere, unless a police state. Even policemen will not stop you unless there is reasonable suspicion that you have committed a crime. Is that not so? But here you just see people, non-uniform, non-state actors, who are controlling huge amount of money that many lawyers cannot even think or imagine. Money that should go into the treasury of the local government and fix where we live, where we work, schools where our children attend. You find them in the hands of non-state actors. So until we have a state tax reform, most of those manifestations will continue. Now, the new tax laws at the federal level had commenced. Don't you still see all these manifestations around you? They are not going to go away, because there is a limit to what a federal reform can do at local level. You cannot address local problems at the federal. It's a principle of subsidiarity. And when we talk about fiscal federalism and all that, what it means, first, is determine which level of government out of the 3 is best able to perform certain things. Some of our inner roads, federal will never fix them. They won't feel federal presence. State will never feel most of them. There are streets in Koyi that are still not fixed. So how will a street in Okokomaiko or Jangbadi, when will it become their turn? If you don't have a local system that is responsible, where you have people of integrity who are prudent and who prioritize spending, we may not see development in our lifetime. And I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optimist for those who know me. But if you don't get all this right, all this reform will not touch what touches us most. Then I now go to subsidiary laws. I won't spend more time on this. I will just highlight them so that we can see that beyond the two tax statutes that I mentioned, you have to look at what is in the law, is in the subsidiary laws. The subsidiary laws, please. The subsidiary laws, you are going to see a list of them. For example, PAYE regulations. If you don't look at it with the subsidiary law, you can't understand it. You want to understand how to apply, the legal framework for withholding tax of your employees. You won't see it as such in this law. The administrative procedures are in the subsidiary laws. The same thing about withholding tax. Subsidiary laws are laws made by the executive pursuant to the enabling statutes, subject to the rule that they should advance the implementation and not override the enabling statute. They are to make implementation work better. So that is very, very important. I've just seen that I didn't include it in this slide. Before you share the slide, please, I want to tweak it a little and then improve on it today. So please don't let us share this because that is the meat of tax administration. There are aspects that if you read in the statute, you will not get a clear picture. But when you pick the subsidiary law, you have a clearer picture. Then now, I come to legal practitioners. Waiting lawyer, they do serve. We already know what we are doing. Section 24 of the Legal Practitioners Act has 3 categories of lawyers. Those who practice generally, and those who practice by virtue of an office, and also foreign lawyers. But the classification that I've adopted here are those who are in employment and those who are self-employed. Those who are in employment include guys like me, an employee of University of Lagos. Whether you are a judge, you are a judicial officer, you are a magistrate, you are in employment. So let's start with that. 2 scenarios. You may be in employment and have only one source of income, which is your salary. But we all know, or we assume, that even a lawyer that is called to bar yesterday, we do private practice. Is that not so? So if you engage in any moonlighting, it has tax implication. Good news or bad news? Bad news. Then, the second scenario is those who are in employment, like me, again, but who has other sources. That is all what we all pray for. When we say, oh, Nigeria has a monolithic or mono economy, only one source should have different sources. So the stage 1, the first thing you need to know is that as an employee, you have obligation to file returns. It's not something that your employer should just do and that is it. Your employer may not even know how to do it. In the returns, you are able to claim certain allowances, some of them new, which you are going to see very soon. So anytime you are negotiating your salary, you should ask whether it is net of taxes or gross. If it is gross, at the end of the day, you are going to collect something lesser. If you are in a strong bargaining position, even though I recognize that few are always in that situation, you may be able to negotiate more. Judges just got new salary. Yes. No, let's talk about judges. What they gave professors is just 40%. But 40% of how much? The icing on the cake is, you collect your last salary for life. I think that is something. You understand? But let's talk about our judges. They just got a review, and significant one for that matter. When they were faced with their tax bill, they saw that it was even more than their previous salary. So they have to start negotiating with the state tax authority. You know, it takes some time before you recognize that it's a duty. No matter how much you are making, it's a culture. Culture doesn't just develop overnight. You know, it takes some time. So bear that in mind when you are negotiating. So lawyers in employment. So the first one is determine the taxable emolument. I didn't call it salary. Emolument has expansive meaning. It includes all benefits, all perquisites of office. You have a car. I have an official car. I live in government house. All these are benefits. And they are part of the reason why we are still on the job. Even when we complain of poor salary. That is the truth. They are benefits. There's a school where you pay less. I was almost making a mistake. I wanted to put my children in one of the expensive schools. One professor now called me. He said, do you know CBN directors bring their children here? He said, because you have it, you don't cherish it. So all these are benefits. All the benefits within the rules, especially cars and housing. You know, there's a way it is computed and added to what a taxpayer has. Then after that, it includes bonuses, 13th month salary. All these are included. Then the second stage for employees, good news, eligible deductions. And this you will find in section 30 of the Nigerian Tax Act. And what are they? The first one is contribution under national housing funds. That fund is not working. So people may not know about it. But let's work towards the functionality of that fund. So what it means is if you make contribution under that fund towards your home ownership building, the contribution you made is tax deductible. Then the second one is health insurance, National Health Insurance Scheme. Any contribution you make under that is also tax deductible. You see the tax law trying to recognize that taxpayers must have a house. They must also take care of their health. Okay? Then there is another one, another layer. Interest on loan for the development of owner-occupier building. And let me break that down. If you want to build a house that you are going to live, and then you go to Zenith Bank, you get a loan of 150 million. I know that cannot build in some areas. Let's say 150 million. If they charge you 35% interest, that 35% interest, you can deduct it from your gross income before arriving at your chargeable income. Is that not good news? There is nothing I say that will excite some people because they just felt that Professor Sanni is one of them. If you feel like that, let me see your hands up. Say, oh, he's one of them. Anyway, we will feel you during then insurance premium. And you know some insurance are like savings. You have a lot of money. If you don't leverage any, please leverage this. Plan for the future. Put something substantial. Do it for the first time. Yes. At least all these books, success books, they say save 90% of your earning. Put something. At the end of the day, your tax liability may be very insignificant or even nil, rightly under the law. Then there is a rent relief, 500,000 or 20% of your rent, whichever is lower, provided that the taxpayer provides or furnishes the tax authority with the details of the landlord. So this basically is to curate data so that the landlord can also be in the database. So other sources of income should also be included. And I don't know how this is going to work in practice. I don't know employees who will declare other sources of income in a form that is available to the employer. So I think in terms of administration, we will see how this pans out. Whether the employee will file a separate return or still do it through employee, which I doubt most sincerely. But most importantly, you are supposed to also disclose and add all your fees that have been withheld at source. All the taxes paid on fees withheld at source. So you now take it as a credit. That will be taken as a credit. So at the end of the day, and I provided scenarios here where if my tax liability is 1 million, and I can prove that 800,000 had been withheld at source from my various billing of my corporate clients. At the end of the day, I'm going to pay only 200,000. And if what had been withheld is more than my tax liability, I'm supposed to collect a refund. So I've put the stages here. Time will not permit me to go into all that. So in terms of what is taxable, all your fees are taxable, unless those that are specifically exempted. And if you look at exemptions, if your legal practice is in the area of promotion of charitable causes, that entity, the income earned by it, will be tax exempt. There is no tax. All our CSO brothers and sisters, that is the entity. But whatever they draw from the organization, they have to disclose it, including benefits in kind. So what are the tax obligations of a legal practitioners and clients? Tax will be withheld from your own fees. Tax will be withheld from your fees. As a practitioner, you also have to withhold tax from the fees of the people you are paying, unless they are small businesses. There are situations where you act as agent of collection. And that will quickly take me to those who are in practice. Those who are in practice. I think those who are in practice should pay for this, really. Because because they are in a position to pay. But let me just summarize it because of time. It takes money to make money. Whatever it takes to set up your practice is capital, for which you can get capital allowance. It means if it cost me 20 million to set up, if I keep proper books of record, that 30 million, I can amortize it over a period of 5 years. You cannot be in one office for 10, 20 years. It can't be your final destination. You cannot use the same equipment for so long. If you understand what the tax system says and how it works, if you buy a laptop, even if it is 2.8 million, I want you to Google a good laptop and buy it for your business. All those firms that are doing well, this is what they are doing. All the costs, including cost of hiring an accountant or an auditor. If you don't set up your practice in a certain way, you cannot attract partnership, especially all the people who will say, oh, they want linkages with you across. I know it takes some time to get there, but the people who are doing it now also started somewhere. Then you have a partnership. Can you imagine a partnership of lawyers without an agreement? It's going to end in quarrel. Then if you keep record of your agreement, you must also keep records of your transaction. How money is coming in, who is bringing it, and how money is going out. You will see that partnerships are better run in terms of welfare of staff and even their own welfare. Partnership will ask junior lawyer, even 1 year at the bar, to fly to anywhere that has an airport instead of going with night bus. Why? Because they recognize that all these expenses are deductible, including the cost of hiring experts. Oh, explain how this works. And I don't want to mention names. I have been asked to come and do in-house training for some tier 1 law firms. And the money they paid me then, it's almost 18 years or 20 years, was more than my 6-month salary. And it's just a weekend thing. So you can see the way businesses think. So what I'm saying in essence is that all your expenses, you travel business class, you entertain clients, you bought law books, all your technology, all your branding, all the advisory that you also got, all the training. Once you put all of them together, then there is a way all this will be treated. And then you are able to get relief for them. Then let me now quickly go to tax planning. Tax planning, I said some lawyers, rightly so, they are thinking of migrating to either an LLP, limited liability partnership, or register a company. Why? Why? Because small company is defined under CAMA as companies whose turnover is not more than 100 million. And they have zero tax obligation. And under the new tax regime, LLP is treated, not that it is treated, it is actually a separate entity because it has all the attributes of corporate liability. It has all the attributes of corporate personality. including limited liability. All those attributes, LLP has it, but the only problem now, and I want to hear the comment of those of you who are in practice, the only problem now is that Rule 5 says that, okay, Rule 5 says that lawyers cannot set up a company as a corporate entity. So like I said, things are changing. This may be some of the calls are disturbing my. Please give me 1 minute just to put do not disturb. Sorry. Okay. How is a partnership treated under the tax law? 2 levels. The partnership is an entity, even though it may not be a legal personality, you know. It is a person. It will keep separate books of all its own income and expenses. If partners are getting any drawing, the partners' drawings will also be recorded. Then after they have determined either their profit or loss, then they have to do distribution. You know, normally a company has the prerogative of keeping some money and then reinvesting it. Relating to partnership, there is a specific provision under the tax law that whatever is left will be deemed as distributed and taxable. And the signal that is being said there is, if you want to have a company and use it as a storehouse, then go and register a company. Then at the end of the day, individual partners will pay their own tax. Some people make error by giving salaries to partners. And I say, this shows poor understanding of how partnership works. A partnership is a business. At the end of the day, you either make profit or you make a loss. But by the time you are now saying, this is my salary, at the end of the day, the tax authority will want to know the bottom line. If you give yourself a meager salary, you give yourself a salary of 500,000 or $1 million, but your lifestyle shows that you are earning much more. You put your children in a kind of school, you are driving a kind of car, you are living in a kind of neighborhood where even what they pay as service charge is more than rent. Is that not so? And you say your salary is 500,000. The tax authority is going to leverage its power to charge you on what is called deemed income. Then, in terms of advisory, let me just summarize this in 3-5 minutes. We give guidance. We give guidance to clients who are seeking help. They do not understand a number of things, and they ask you, can you guide us? Bear in mind that this is an era of AI. There is no enlightened client who will ask a question that he has not already asked AI. So advisory comes at a premium. Advisory comes at a premium. And when you are doing it, you have to charge. You have to charge VAT. When you are also billing clients, you have to charge VAT. Yes, if you have never charged VAT, I doubt if you are on the wrong side. I doubt if you are on the right side of the law. But VAT has run into a problem recently on an issue of intergovernmental fiscal relations. Some lawyers went to court and they said, this is a matter for the federal. And they were vindicated. And AG Rivers also went to court and it was vindicated. Until the Constitution is amended to make VAT an item on the exclusive legislative list, there may be issues arising when it comes to administration of VAT. But ordinarily, there are clients who have configured their system to pay, and if you don't charge, they see you as non-compliant. I understand, you understand, but some client might see you as a risk if they feel that you are not complying. So in all our advisory, we must be ready to upskill. We must be ready to invest. You are investing time now, and I commend you for it. And then you must also be ready to unlearn. Notwithstanding that I've been a major player in the development of this new legal order, I'm still learning new things every day. So then finally, this presents a unique opportunity for that young girl, that young boy who is looking for an area to specialize. I've said this all the time, but the responses are always very low. Listening to this type of lecture will not turn you to somebody who can give tax advisory. And those of you who are members of CITN, you also have an edge. So you also need to upskill in terms of computation. And where you are not able to do it, you can get a partner. You can get somebody who can do it for you or seek help. So at the end of the day, this new tax system comes with a bang. It's a tax system that has shifted significantly and shaken the table and comes with huge opportunities. Opportunities for you and me. You know, in terms of new reliefs, in terms of lower deductions and all that, then in terms of new opportunities, because people will ask questions. So, and at the end of the day, it's a question of whether you are prepared. So I hope as many of you as desire will come on board. Before I round up, I think I can see Professor Ademola Popola in the audience. Am I correct? Is that not Professor Popola? Ah, okay. He's not the one. Is he the one? Okay. So my conclusion is, let's go there. Thank you very much.
I'm very sure we can do better than that. Very sure. Very sure. It's a privilege to have a professor and a senior advocate rolled into one. And Ladder Silk, we are so grateful to you for this incisive and very, very, very enlightening presentation. We're so grateful. But as usual, you are the prof. But these are your prof for this afternoon. They are going to ask you questions.
Sure.
And please let's just, we will call 4 people. Yes. We will need 4 people to come forward. And please, you are not going to go around the bush and, just go straight to the point and ask your question. Please, if you beat about the bush, we will take the microphone from you. Thank you. Yes. Please step forward, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. all protocols observed, especially to my teacher. Sir.
Your name, sir?
Jonathan Okroma Jonathan. Can I go on?
Please go.
1, in the areas of nuisance taxes charged by local government officials, in the face of the Taxes and Levies Act that makes it criminal, is still going on in Ogun State. That is 1. 2, tax assessment. In the face of the case of Oluwabukola versus AG Lagos, Court of Appeal. Yes, the court made it clear that Lagos State government can use tax consultant to collect taxes. However, those tax consultants have no right to seal a premises of a tax defaulter without a court order. In some states, churches are even sealed. In Kano, a church was sealed for not paying taxes. Now, churches' revenue come from charitable donations, tithes, offerings. These are not taxable. But in Kano State, the church was sealed. I am very mindful of the case of Reverend Shodupo versus Federal Board of Inland Revenue.
Can you ask your question?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, that gentleman in the black suit.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Emmanuel Sado. My question is, in this evolution of the new tax system in Nigeria, there's a certain omission in your lecture, certain omission. My question is, what is the mode of enforcement of payment of the tax? Mode of enforcement of payment of tax payment? Thank you.
Is there any other person? Okay, the lady, yeah.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My question is this.
Your name, please.
My name is Scholastica Nwogu. Sir, is it better to leave our company as it is, as a law firm, or to convert it to LLP? Please, I need more explanation on that.
Okay, so I think that is it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, can you tell us your name and then ask your question straight away?
My name is Obi Angonya. My learned Prof and my teacher. I want to ask, at the beginning of this program, we were assured that extortion or taxes by non-government actors, I mean MC Olomos all around the country, and at Ibodo, they collect money every day, that they were going to be stopped. I don't know what happened eventually. Is that the committee forgot, or they were threatened not to go ahead? Secondly, sir, let me advise, accounting advice. Let us today get 2 exercise books. Before we go into real accounting software or hiring an accountant, get 2 exercise books. Keep writing your expenses. Keep writing your incomes. Keep them. And of course, get your receipts ready. In case the relevant tax authority has capacity to badge into your place, we will have this type of thing to prepare account quickly for you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Obi, there are software that can help you keep your accounts. The idea of textbook appears anachronistic, and I would not sincerely or seriously recommend it. If you don't keep accounts, they are going to ask for your statement of account. And then they will be able to track everything. So remember I said, start doing certain things that you are not doing before, especially if it's going to confer benefits on you. The second one by Obi, non-state actors, I think I mentioned that. Federal reform cannot address that. And that is why I'm calling on states to do something about their own fiscal ecosystem. But why are they not doing it? Conflict of interest. They are using those people for some reasons or some purposes, which they are put above the interest of the people. You and I know that if a governor wants to stop all those nonsense, a simple circular will resolve it. All the revenue of local governments, they are in the hands of one political bigwig or not. The cemeteries, the car park, avenues that money should have come for fixing where you and I are living. So that is beyond us. It's beyond our pay grade. We can talk about it from morning till night. It will not solve any problem. Unless you chose to also mocking and offer yourself to lead. Then Scholastica Nwosu, very practical question. You said, should you now consider LLP? A lot of people have done all this before because without even knowing the implication. But now I've just told you that look, if you're an LLP, if your turnover is not up to 100 million, there are people here whose turnover from one case is more than that. You know, the senior advocates here. By the grace of God. By the grace, if some people are charging millions in dollars and you are also in the league, are you not going to aspire to get there? Let's challenge ourselves with big dreams. I will never describe myself small. Let's go there. I say let's go there. Those who are getting it, they don't have two heads. We are in the same city. People in the hinterland may not think it. They may not even thinking of charging in some other, but it's happening before your eyes. And if you are a young man, that should be your dream. And then project realistically and say at this time, this is where I want to be. So, I think the answer is clear relating to that. Then, Jonathan, news and taxes. I think I also mentioned it. They won't go. They have stopped me on many occasions. And the moment you wind down, but that should not happen. If you want to stop, they collect tax when you pick some stuff in the factory. And when you also offload. Those things should never happen. They are aberrations that have endured because we have not addressed the problems from policy, legal, and administrative perspective. Then you said tax assessment. Under our law, private consultants, they cannot even be seen. They can provide back-end inputs that the tax authority will now use. They cannot sign assessment as they used to do in those days. And I agree with you, churches, mosques, religious organizations, they are exempt with regards to their non-trading income. But when they trade, if this place is owned by a church, they must charge VAT and all that. Then somebody asks about the enforcement power. Let me close there. That's a very practical question. Remember I said that this new tax law had not done away totally with the existing tax law. The enforcement power of the tax authority are still there. And I said when I was starting that they have just not been utilized. Who has been sent to jail on account of tax default in Nigeria? Who? There is no locus classicus. Why? Because the tax authorities pursue tax recovery from civil perspective. They will call you and say, oh, go and pay. But in other countries, the bigger you are, you know scapegoatism. They will scapegoat you so that when you see the way they have dealt with that celebrity, the way they have done with that former president who has no immunity, the way we have done with political actors, you will shapen up and then put your house in order. So the first one is prosecution, because taxation is compulsory. Then another way of enforcing it is to charge interest and penalties, and they are usually at compound interest. Another way is they can sue, but if I were to be tax authority, I will not sue any taxpayer. You know why? You have all the enforcement powers. Once a matter gets to the court, all the dilatory tactics will set in. So it's in the interest of the taxpayer if he or she is sued, but it's a wrong approach. The other two that are presently controversial is power to distrain, and they are part of the police power of the tax authority. You know, a policeman can come to your house with a warrant. A tax authority can also come with a warrant, either to check, to snoop around for certain evidence and take away some of your, like your computer, your check leaves, your checkbook, and all that. So the last one is power of substitution. Lana Brother Sikh, you are welcome. Lana Brother Sikh Akongbe, you are welcome. So power of substitution means when a taxpayer has been served, has been given all the opportunities to pay, has been given all the fair hearing, and his tax liability has been established. Just as debtors, creditors garnish accounts, the power of substitution can also be used. It's not new. Power to distrain is not new. The only aspect that is new is that under section 104 of Peter, they must apply ex parte for a court order. But now that has disappeared. And I believe that this is going to open some legal fireworks. I see lawyers in particular going to court to say, this provision infringe my constitutional rights. It's almost predictable that that type of argument will be upheld. So in closing, all the enforcement powers are there. We always say to thunder is not to rain. We are not sure whether they will be enforced, but there are indications that they will be. And that is why you see tension, that is why you see interest, that is why you see people paying particular interest. And at the end of the day, ultimately, as lawyers, let us put our houses in order, so that when the sword comes, it will not fall over us. So thank you very much. So the chairman, with your kind permission, I have to run to...
Before you go, we have something very small, a token, in appreciation of your... May I call Mrs. Adejoke Lai Babatunde to join us?